Oh, that was a bad flip, but I'm back. Flipping in, ready for the functions. Okay, so linear functions and slope-intercept form. Whew. I'm wearing my green shoes today. Let me show you. I'm wearing my green shoes, and the grip is not very good. My intent was to do a really cool cartwheel into this class, but it did not work out. I slipped, almost broke my collarbone, but I'm alive. All right, so linear functions. Keyword here, line. We're talking about graphing lines and slope-intercept form. This should be very familiar to you guys. You've covered slope-intercept before in geometry and in algebra, and maybe even before that. So our goal today is to graph linear equations and to write equations of lines. So let's go ahead and get into this. Like I said, this should be review. So slope, what is slope? You've heard this before, but slope is slant. How a line slants, okay? Slope is represented as rise over run, or vertical change over horizontal change, rise over run. The formula for slope is this right here. The second y, so you're going to have two points. So it'll be y2 over y1, y2 minus y1 over x2 minus x1. Rise over run. That is slope. If I were you and you didn't know the slope-intercept or slope formula, I would write that down in your notes. Okay, so let's think about the concept of slope. So positive slope can be found, and when we talk about slope, we were looking at this is what's called slope-intercept form. We're going to get to it shortly, but M represents slope. If this number is positive, then we have positive slope. If it's negative, we have negative slope. So right here, there is a number in front of this x. It's invisible. It's a 1, a positive 1, so there's positive slope. Right here, our slope would be -2, and so it falls to the right. On this one, we don't have an x, and so there is no slope. The slope is 0. There's no slanting. And over here, it's just x equals -2. There's also no slope. It's just a straight line going up and down. All right, so how would you determine slope if you were just given 2 coordinates? Well, you would use that formula that we looked at. You're going to take the y's, second y minus first one, 4 minus 7, and you get -3. Then you're going to take the x's, -2 minus -3. Now remember, when you have a negative number, it's sort of like they become positive. So -2 plus 3 is 1. And you can actually simplify this to -3. So we would say our slope is -3. All right, so now let's look at slope-intercept form. So slope-intercept form is y equals mx plus b, where m equals slope, and where b equals the y-intercept. Now, when we say y-intercept, what we're talking about is where the graph crosses the y-axis. Okay, so intercept means like come in front, like in football. You know, the quarterback throws a pass, the defender intercepts the ball. He steps in front of the receiver and takes it. So the y-intercept is where the graph crosses this y-axis. So right here, this is the y-intercept. All right, so how would we go about writing an equation in slope-intercept form, given the slope and a coordinate? we're given a slope and a y-intercept. Well, you just plug in. Oh, it's got the slope is red. So you just plug in 1/5 where the slope is. The y-intercept is at 0, -3. So you just put a -3 there. So our slope-intercept form for this would be y equals 1/5 x minus 3. And let's keep it moving. All right, so it says write the equation in slope-intercept form. What are the slope and y-intercept? So right here, it gives us an equation. The way we need to do it is we need to get it to look like this. Y equals mx plus b. So we need to get the y all by itself. So the first thing we do is we're going to subtract 5x from each side. So we're going to move that 5x. It's going to cancel out over there. And it's going to move over here. And I'm going to have -4y equals -5x plus 16. Then I'm going to divide each side by -4. I got to get that y by itself. That -4 cancels. I cannot really simplify this other than making this positive because two negatives make it positive. So I get y equals 5/4x plus, actually minus -4 because 16 divided by -4 is -4. So this is my slope-intercept form, but it wants me to tell you, or wants us to tell it, the slope. So that's this number, 5/4, and the y-intercept, which is -4. And you can write it as a coordinate, or you could say that the y-intercept is at y equals -4. All right, so how would we go about graphing a linear equation? So let me go ahead and draw my graph up here. All right, so when we graph from slope-intercept form, once again, this should be review. We're going to start from the right and work our way back to the left. And we need 2 points to graph a line. So the first point that we're going to graph is the y-intercept, okay? So I'm going to go to +1 on the y-intercept. That's my first point. Now from my first point, I'm going to graph my second point, which is going to be determined by the only other number that's given, which is the slope, okay? That's my second point. So my second point is sort of like 2/1. Rise over run. Lets me know that I'm going to go up 2, 1, 2, and then over +1. And so my second point is going to be right there. And then I just connect the dots. Kind of draw a line through it. So this line represents this. And it matches up. I got my y-intercept of 1. I should be going up 2/1 for my slope. And then just a quick glance at it. My slope is positive, so it should be going up to the right, and it is. All right, so that's 2.3. The basics of linear equation and slope-intercept form. Now we're going to look at more stuff about linear equations, specifically how to write an equation of a line given its slope and point on the line. So we're using what's called point-slope form. That basically means they give you a point and they give you the slope, and you got to make it into slope-intercept form. So this is what it looks like. I would put this, even though I didn't put in a blue box yet, put this in your notes, okay? Point-slope form. All right, so it tells us a line passes through the point, -5, 2. It gives a slope of 3/5. What is the equation of the line? So we got to put it in slope-intercept form, but it gives us a point and it gives us a slope. So we're going to use point-slope form to do this. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and write out point-slope form just like this, and I'm just going to substitute. All right, so where it says y1, I'm going to put 2. Where it says x1, I'm going to put -5. Then where it says m, I'm going to put 3/5. From there, you just simplify it, okay? So 3/5 connects with that x. Then the -5 next to the minus sign becomes positive. And so we would simplify it like this, and it actually doesn't want us to put it in slope-intercept form. It just wants us to simplify to this place. And so this would actually be sufficient for this example. Alright, so once again, it tells us a line passes through 3, 2, and 5, 8. What is the equation of the line in point-slope form? Alright, so now they tell us we want it in point-slope form. That's what we got to do. But notice it only gives us 2 points. So what we need to do is we need to find the slope first. Okay? So if you remember, find the slope, you do y2 minus y1 over x2 minus x1. So we'll go and make the y's red. So I'm going to say 8 minus 2, and then we'll do blue for the x's, minus 5 over 3, and that simplifies to 6 over 2, which simplifies to 3. Alright, so actually I'm just going to circle that because that's not my official answer. So now, using point-slope form, I need to simplify this, and I'm just going to choose one of the points. I'm just going to use this point. And so you can write out the formula like that, and then just substitute stuff. So that's what I'm going to do. Where it says y1, I'm going to put a 2. I'm actually going to erase that. I'm going to put a 2. Oh, wrong one. Then, where it says x1, I'm going to put a positive 3. Alright, but since it's a minus right here, that stays right there, so I'm going to have that. And then for my slope, I'm going to erase the m and put a 3 there. And so in point-slope form, I have y minus 2 equals 3x minus 3. Simple as that. Find the slope and then substitute using point-slope form. Okay, so equations of lines. This is just kind of a summary of equations. So slope-intercept form we looked at with 2.3 at the beginning of this video. We just looked at point-slope form, and it tells you why and where you would use these. And then we have what's called standard form, where A, B, and C represent real numbers. Now, I made a note in here for you that this is not used very often. In fact, I don't know if you'll use it in this chapter at all. You're mainly just going to use these two. So it says, what are the intercepts of 3x plus 5y equals 15? So, this is written in standard form. All right. What you could do to graph the equation is, what I would do is I put in slope-intercept form, and once we get it there, then we can figure out the intercept. So, in order to get in slope-intercept form, I'm going to subtract 3x from each side. That cancels. This becomes, I'm going to draw it over here, 5y equals negative 3x plus 15. And then I divide by 5. That cancels. This becomes y equals negative 3/5 x plus 3. Just going to circle that like that. All right, and so that lets me know that my y-intercept here, we'll just do intercepts. I know that's scribbling. So my x-intercept, I don't know yet. My y-intercept is going to be at 0, 3. And I should be able to find my x-intercept after I graph it. Alright, so remember to graph, I'm going to use my y-intercept, I'm going to go up here to 3. And then I'm going to use my slope to find my second point. So I'm going to go down 3, 1, 2, 3, and then over 5, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And then to graph this, I'm just going to connect my lines. That's not a perfect line, but you get the idea. And then notice my x-intercept is at 5, 0. So I was able to graph it and figure out my intercepts by putting in slope-intercept form and then graph it. Okay, real quickly, let's talk about just identifying parallel or perpendicular lines. So remember, parallel means lines that run and never intercept. All right, if two graphs or two linear equations have the same exact slope, so 2 and 2 on this one, then they're going to be parallel. All right. Then perpendicular lines, the slopes are what we call opposite reciprocals. So opposite means like the opposite of positive is negative. Opposite negative is positive. A reciprocal just means you kind of flip the numbers, okay? So right here, this slope is 2, which could also be written as like 2 over 1. So it's a positive 2 over 1. The opposite reciprocal of that would be a negative, and then flip the numbers, negative 1/2, which is what we have here. That's perpendicular. Perpendicular means they make a 90-degree angle. So right here, this would be perpendicular because it has the negative reciprocal of this slope. All right. So parallel lines have the same exact slope. Perpendicular lines have opposite reciprocals. Just keep that in mind. Remember, it's in a blue box, so you may want to write that down. Okay. So it says, what is the equation of each line in slope-intercept form? So if we want to find a line that's parallel to this equation, and it's giving me this number. Well, if I know it's parallel, then I know that the slope is going to be the same. So when I rewrite this, I know that I can just rewrite it as y equals 6x. And then I just kind of figure out the y-intercept, which I can find by just looking at that negative 3. And so my line would be y equals 6x minus 3. That would be a parallel line. Now, if I want to find a line that's perpendicular to y equals negative 4x plus 2, 3, and it runs through 8, 5, I'm going to do it the same way. Except this time, my slope needs to be the opposite reciprocal. So negative 4 could also be kind of written as like negative 4 over 1. So the opposite of negative is positive. And the reciprocal of 4 over 1 is 1 over 4. So I'm going to write this as 1/4 x. And then my y-intercept is going to be that 5. And so this line is perpendicular to that line. This concept can be a little confusing, so I'd recommend, if you're kind of confused, just pause it, rewind it a minute or two, and watch this explanation again. All right, that is it. Good luck with the homework. Like I said, these first 4 lessons of Chapter 2, and really Chapter 2 as a whole, should be review for you. If you need help, though, do not hesitate to contact myself or Miss Colette. Have a great day. Good luck.